So we're talking about, like Mr. Bates said, interconnected systems in the school and how that supports our students. We're going to talk about, we had the Systems of Care grant, and this was our first year with the Health West clinician in our district. And we're kind of going to tell you the story of one of our students and how he received services through all the different levels in our district and what the outcomes were kind of for that student. So we're going to call this student Adam. Some things that were really great about Adam is that he could be very caring toward younger students. When he saw a younger student having a hard time, having behavioral difficulties, he would try to help them out and he would play with them in some instances. He enjoyed being helpful. If you gave him a job, he would feel he enjoyed that. He was a strategic game player. He played a lot of Uno. He really was pretty good at cheating. He had a good sense of humor and some close relationships with some of the staff, and he was very close with his mom. But unfortunately, he had some behaviors that were really impacting negatively his learning. He would elope. He would take off out of class. He didn't spend much time in class. He wanted out there. He would find his way to the office. He would be in the hallway. He would be in his locker. He would make his way to the special ed room. Anywhere he could go to be out of his classroom, he was going. He had a really low stress tolerance. If anything was asked of him that he didn't feel he could do, that he didn't want to do, he would become frustrated very easily. He would blow up and throw or hit objects. He used plenty of inappropriate language. He totally refused any work in class, and often was refusing class at all. And he had some really morbid and concerning ideas, and he would definitely express them. And those were like things like, I'm picturing you dead with blood everywhere. Like really frightening things to hear come from a student, a fourth grade student. And it was really difficult for his classmates, it was difficult for his teacher, and for all the staff that were trying to help him out. Because of these behaviors, he missed a majority of his general education instruction. This is all at the beginning of the year. He missed opportunities to make and maintain friendships because he was so frequently out of class, having behaviors that made him not the kid you want to hang out with. By March of last school year, he had 28 reported discipline referrals, 4 half-day suspensions, and 1 full-day suspension. And that doesn't really even cover the time that he spent out of class, like in the restorative practices room, in the special ed room where they had a plan, where they were trying to help keep him on track behaviorally. He was spending a ton of time out of class, and he wanted to go home. He loved his mom. He loves his mom. He wanted to go home to meet with her. And that actually ended up being part of our incentive plan later. So he also is a special education student who has a speech language impairment in expression and reception. So included with that special ed world, he also, in his behaviors, he had a positive behavior support plan. The support plan included preferential seating, which wasn't just by the teacher. It was away from students that are generally triggering, just whatever was going to work best for him. Time and space to be mindful prior to behaviors occurring, which he was also taught different mindful strategies. Removal of demands and directives if he started to seem frustrated or upset. He had space in the classroom and outside the classroom where he could take a break when he became upset. An incentive plan and access to fidget tools. His incentive plan ended up including leaving school a little early to spend some time with his mom at her job. He was receiving school social work services as well. And even with these things in place and more other things, his behaviors were not curbing, his emotionality was not improving. So we needed to collect a little more data to try to figure out, what else is under here, what else can we get for this. So our student support team met and we talked about what else we could do. Obviously at the time he was receiving school social work services, like added layer onto the other services he was receiving.
So my role with him, I would see Adam once or twice a week usually in my office on an individual basis. And we would work on, we would really focus on the zones of regulation, which is identifying his emotions and what's triggering those emotions, and then figuring out what he can do to either prevent negative emotions from causing the behaviors, or how to calm himself down when he's already at a heightened level. And then we worked on a lot of mindfulness activities, which was really beneficial for him to help calm him down. And he really liked, kind of like the project-based stuff or the experiential type learning. He really liked the hands-on type activities, so we did a lot of different activities that were very hands-on that let him get involved and focused on what helps him learn and what helps him benefit in that environment. But despite, the other big thing was building a relationship with him. If you didn't have a solid relationship with him, getting him to de-escalate was pretty much not going to happen. So really focusing hard on building strong relationships with him within the school. But despite all these efforts, all these accommodations and interventions, he was still unable to avoid conflict, maintain relationships, or remain in the classroom for any significant length of time, which led then to our referral to our Health West technician.
So Alicia was talking about relationship building, and one of the cool things about being in a school is that I get the opportunity to build a relationship even before a Health West referral takes place. So that was definitely the case with Adam. He was in one of my social emotional groups at the beginning of the school year. As well as I'm a part of the student support team, and I get to learn what the school is doing with a student, with Adam in particular in this case, to see what is working for that student and what isn't working. So I know a bit about the student before they're even having a Health West referral, which is hugely beneficial. And when the referral took place, what happens next is I reach out to the family and I connect with them, and we set up a time to do the child and adolescent needs and strengths assessment. And basically what that looks like is doing our assessment for Health West, it's called the CANS, to help determine like what needs the family has, what strengths they have, and then like what services might best serve them from that. So the cool thing about having it at the school is that it removes the transportation barrier. As you can imagine, in Holton, there's definitely a transportation issue at times with getting kids from Holton to our Health West office here on Apple Ave. So meeting them at the school really helps remove the transportation barrier, and we can also accommodate a parent's schedule. So my schedule is very flexible, and so we were able to work with his mom to make that happen at the school. And so from that assessment and going through the family's strengths and needs, we determined that Health West wraparound services were really the best fit for the family. With mom's consent and approval, I made that referral happen, and they got connected with our Holton specific wraparound coordinator. And so then what's nice about wraparound services is they can really connect the family with the supports that they need. So in this case, they connected Adam with individual therapy, with group therapy, which really focused on a lot of body movement, as you can imagine is really great for a kid his age. And it really worked on relationship building with peers, which was one of those concerns that we talked about. Emotional regulation strategies, coping skills. So individual therapy, group therapy, as well as him accessing psychiatric services. And so all of these things are in place, but then it's important to talk about the communication piece of it. Because with all of these different people, you know, at the table for a family and in their life, it's important to get everybody at the table and say, okay, what is working, what isn't working, which we were able to do. So every other week, the wraparound coordinator, the individual therapist, Alicia was there, and I was there, as well as a speech and language pathologist. And we could all talk about, okay, what's working well at school, what's working well at home, and what is working well with Health West. What are some things that we need to improve upon? What are some strengths that we can build off of? Which really helped break down communication barriers.
And that is something, if you guys work in the schools, which you do, sometimes the communication between the school and Health West or other like providers can be very stunted. You don't get the communication as well. And having the Health West clinician and the wraparound coordinator in our district and the parent engagement advocate definitely made communication from school to provider back and forth so much smoother, and we knew what services our student was getting. We know when they're starting, when they're ending, what they're working on, what we can be working on, and it was really an excellent experience. And as a result, so the student made progress. He spent more time in the classroom. He had more effective communication about his feelings and needs. Like in the hallway, if he was frustrated, instead of just hitting the locker, he would say, "I'm really frustrated right now, please leave me alone." Like he learned ways to say it. He was able to more appropriately accept direction or redirection, which is something he was really struggling with earlier in the year. He had a significant reduction in the morbid thoughts and expression, and that, all of these services working together, wherever that fit in there, but we had all of this stuff going around with the student, and that was a really big thing that we saw a reduction in, which was very great for being able to build more positive relationships with his teachers and peers. So just having the great communication and having the systems, the Health West system, having a clinician in our district, having those wraparound services where they can help connect us as a school with the other services and have them able to connect with us, have definitely made positive impact in our students.